Dear listeners, welcome to 拙见园, Garden of Humble Views. I think you might have noticed, today the intro music is a little bit different, no? It is because today is a special episode for the Chinese New Year. So in this episode, I'm going to share with you some little fun facts about the Chinese New Year, how we celebrate this most important festival for Chinese people, and what food we're eating, what are the cultural activities we do on that special day. So I hope you find this episode interesting, and let's get started. First of all, I want to talk about the name of the Chinese New Year. So thanks to the internet and the social media, Chinese New Year has becoming increasingly popular all over the world. So people are starting to translate the name into English, and apparently there are many ways of calling it. In China, traditionally we call it 春节, which literally means spring festival, because it marks the beginning of the year, which is spring. This English translation, it was I was told in school, but I feel it never gets so popular because it's not so clear actually, spring festival. So later on, another term popped up, which is the Chinese New Year. I think the reason this term gets more popular, it's because it actually explains what is Spring Festival means, because basically it's the New Year, but the Chinese version. This term emphasizes on the cultural and historical origin of the festival, and also focusing on the Chinese identity. This is also the term I like to use when I talk with my friends, because it's just more clear and straightforward. It also, such way of translation is also adopted in other language like Italian. For example, in Italian, they call it Capodanno Cinese. Capodanno means New Year, Cinese is Chinese. French and Spanish also adopt the same logic. But in recent years, I believe you also seen this name when people are referring to Chinese New Year, which is the Lunar New Year. The logic behind the term Lunar New Year is because we use the lunar calendar rather than the solar calendar. So that's why the beginning of the lunar calendar should be the Lunar New Year. This term is particularly popular in countries also celebrate the Spring Festival like Vietnam and Korea. I can totally understand why they choose Lunar New Year as English translation, because imagine it's your country's most important festival, but it has a Chinese in its name, so it doesn't sound right. With the rise of cultural subjectivity, national identity, so they are gradually phasing out the Chinese from the name of the New Year, replacing it with a Lunar New Year, something more neutral. But technically, Lunar New Year, it's not so accurate, because Chinese calendar is not a lunar calendar, it's a lunisolar calendar, which combines lunar calendar and solar calendar. So in the Chinese calendar, which is also known as Nongli, agricultural calendar, it adopts both the lunar system and the solar system. So each month is arranged aligned with the phase change of the moon, while in each year we also incorporate 24 solar terms to align with the season change. So basically this system is a combined system. That's why I call it Lunar New Year. It's not technically accurate. That's why me personally, I don't like using this term, simply because it's not correct. You know, now we talk about 3 different translations of 春节, the Chinese New Year. Chinese New Year, Lunar New Year, and Spring Festival. But maybe as our international audience cannot imagine, every year at this time, this is a huge debate on the Chinese social media, or even international social media, about what should be the right translation. Some very radical and nationalist Chinese people even says that using Lunar New Year is a strategy of other Asian countries trying to steal, quote, quote, our culture by erase the Chineseness from the festival. But in my opinion, this is not the case. In the past, in the history, Chinese culture is very strong, and it spread across the continent, It arrived in Asia, in different other Asian countries like Japan, Korea. It arrived in Southeast Asia. But this tradition has developed further, adapting to local culture, blending local culture. It's already become a very important thing in their local culture. So I think people has the right to call the name they like. For me, what is important is that people should have this awareness that this is originated in China, and no matter how you call it, doesn't matter if you call it Lunar New Year, Chinese New Year, or Spring Festival, as long as we have the tradition, we keep the tradition alive, we have the vibe, we have the festive spirit, then you are part of celebration. Chinese New Year should be something inclusive. And also, I think calling it by different names, it's also an important step to making Chinese New Year a universal celebration, something can be shared with everyone. And I guess this is the reason why the Chinese official, the Chinese government, call Chinese New Year different names. Depending on the occasion, sometimes you see the official statement of the Chinese government. Sometimes they use Chinese New Year, sometimes they're using Lunar New Year, sometimes they even combine them, call it Chinese Lunar New Year or just Spring Festival. So you can see that even in the authorized narrative, we also talk about, as we also want to make Chinese New Year more inclusive. Great. Now we made it very clear about how to call the Chinese New Year properly. We can finally move to the part about culture and tradition. To start with, I want to introduce you briefly something you may already know about the Chinese zodiac, Sheng Xiao. The Chinese zodiac is a traditional classification scheme based on the Chinese calendar that assigns an animal and its reputed attributes to each year in a repeating 12-year cycle. So the Chinese zodiac, they are rat, ox, tiger, rabbit, dragon, snake, horse, goat, monkey, rooster, dog, and pig. And this year will be the year of horse. So different Chinese zodiac have their own meaning. For example, like the snake symbolize the wisdom and very cool. And the monkey is very smart. And the pig represents fortune and richness. It's very interesting that sometimes parents even plan their baby to be born in a certain year. Like in the year of pig, the birth rate is actually higher than the other year because parents and the families, they like a pig baby. Sounds very cute, and also they have a good meaning of rich and fortune. So this year will be the year of horse because horse, people perceive it as they keep running and racing. So it's a symbol of speed, energy, progress, success, and positivity and freedom. So the people born in the year of a horse, people believe they also have such quality in their personality. Around the topic of Chinese zodiac, there is a lot of theories in terms of fortune telling, to tell you will be lucky this year, you will have a good career this year, depending on the zodiac sign. And people believe that, and they even buy their lucky charm accordingly to wear them to help them to pass a peaceful year of the certain zodiac year. I'm not an expert in this field, so I won't go deep. But if you're interested, you can search online. There are plenty of such material for you to take a look. Then let's move on to the activities we like to do in the Chinese New Year. First thing I want to say is about firecrackers, fireworks, and the color of red. People may know that red is a lucky color in Chinese culture, and we like to use that a lot in the Chinese New Year celebration. People play firecrackers, they play fireworks. Actually, they have a cultural history reason behind, because in the past there's a mythical story in China saying that every year there is this big monster called Nian Shou come to the village where people live. This monster destroy people's house, destroy the crops, and bringing huge trouble to the villagers. But people found out that this monster is particularly scared of a very loud noise. They're scared of the bright red color, and they're very scared of this explosive sound. So that's why in the ancient time, people burn bamboo to have this cracking sound to scare away the monsters. Also wearing red and have red decorations to keep the monster away. So then it becomes a tradition that in a Chinese celebration, we should do the firecrackers, do the fireworks, and I guess have something in red as a decoration or our clothes. But unfortunately, in the recent years, I think it's starting even from like 10 years ago, it's already been a decade, that many cities banned the use of firecrackers and fireworks due to the reason of fire safety and air pollution. So it's very rare in the city that in the New Year Eve, you hear the sound of fireworks, you see the fireworks outside. Some people are saying that, we no longer have the vibe of celebration because we cannot do the fireworks. I remember when I was a kid, on the Chinese New Year Eve, my friend would come after the dinner, my friend will come over to my place and we go outside together to play the fireworks. But now such thing is banned in the cities and people no longer feel the vibe. But now we miss the vibe. We want these things back. So many cities starting to loosen such regulation, starting to loosen the control, and starting to allow the people to do fireworks at designated spot in the city to bring back the festive vibe. Now, since we're talking about traditional festivals, the most important and I guess the most interesting topic you would like to hear must be food, what we eat for the Chinese New Year. Because China, as you may know, is a big country, so different regions have their own culture. So what I'm sharing here is based on my personal experience and may different if you ask your Chinese friend. Maybe they have a different memories and stories to tell you. So my story is my personal stories, okay? So for the Chinese New Year meal, I wouldn't call it dinner because in some region, they also have their meal at lunchtime. So in the last day of the Chinese year, people, for example, in South China, they gather together and have this important meal during lunchtime. And in some regions, they also do it in the dinner time. For example, in my family, we do it at dinner time. And every year I remember my grandparents, my mom, and my aunt, we gather together. And the preparation is starting like several days before the New Year dinner. So normally we will have multiple cold dishes, like Chinese salad with different vegetables. And then we have many fried stuff. I don't know why, but fried stuff sounds very, for me, it really associates with the festival and celebration. So I remember when I was a kid, my grandfather, he always prepared a lot of fried stuff during the Chinese New Year, like fried meatballs, but not necessarily done with meat, because the meatballs sometimes have beans, have tofu made with radish, and it's deep fried, very tasty. Another thing is like I should call it vegetable sandwich. We call it 茄盒 and 藕盒. Literally, it means a box of made of lotus roots and a box made with eggplant. So basically, how it's made, you take 2 slices of eggplant and you put pork in between, and then you cover it with batter coating and deep fry it. I remember my grandfather and my grandparents preparing in the kitchen days before one day before the New Year, and I'm just keep eating them while they are making it. So I basically almost finishing them before the New Year. The one done with lotus root is definitely my favorite dish. After my grandparents passed away, my aunt started to doing it. So every time when I go back to China, my aunt invited me to her place and she cooked that for me. Another very important dish on the Chinese New Year dinner table, it's the fish. and fish is a must. Because in Chinese, fish is called 鱼, and it sounds exactly the same as the Chinese character also 鱼, which means surplus and extra. So if you have a 鱼, fish on your table, which means 年年有余, it means you have fish every year. It symbolizes that you will have extra income, you will have a surplus of fortune for the next year. So it's a very good symbol. So every year our family on the dining table, the menu keeps changing, but fish is always there. It's similar to Christmas meal preparation, as you can imagine. It's very time consuming to prepare and it's very exhausting. So I remember one year I suggested to my mom saying that let's just don't make the Chinese New Year dinner preparation so exhausting. Let's just eat hot pot every year. So in this case, we just need to cut the meat, we prepare the fish, the seafood, and some vegetables, and then we can just eat the hot pot and watching TV together. So it will be much more relaxing for my mom or my family for preparation. And we can have the warm food for the whole night. So since then, our families tend to have a hot pot as our traditional meal every year. Because the New Year dinner preparation is so complicated, many families starting to eat in a restaurant to celebrate the Chinese New Year. And it's getting very popular, particularly in the big cities. For example, in Shanghai, the traditional and famous local restaurant starting to launch their booking for the Chinese New Year dinner several months before the Chinese New Year. I saw on the news recently saying that one of the traditional restaurants in Shanghai, they got fully booked even in September. So you can imagine how popular it is to eat outside, not in big cities. Another important topic about food is for sure about dumplings. People not from China may have this impression or stereotype, thinking that all over China people eat dumplings, but actually it's not true. Dumplings is something very northern China, so people only in the North China make it, while in South China people prepare something else. For example, my father's family is from North China, so for the Chinese New Year, we make dumplings all together. I remember since when I was a kid, we gather for the New Year Eve dinner, and after dinner we clean up the table, we clean the dishes, and then we gather together in front of TV, making the dumplings while watching the Spring Gala, which I will talk later, and keep drinking, chatting. It's a very interesting experience. And we finished making the dumplings at midnight, and then we boil it and eat them at midnight for good luck. I remember when I was a kid, my grandfather always put one coin in one of the dumplings. So whoever got that dumplings with a coin inside will have a very lucky year. Well, of course, we clean the coin properly, and later on, in order to not hurt our teeth, we try to replace the coin with with a peanut or with some beans. But making dumplings in the Chinese New Year Eve is something very northern China. In other regions of China, things are done differently. For example, from the region where my mom comes from, the region near Shanghai, Jiangsu province, southern Jiangsu province, during Chinese New Year, usually my grandmother prepare a lot of baozi. It's kind of a steamed bread with fillings inside, or wonton, 馄饨, or 得子, 团子, made with sticky rice, and also with fillings, can be radish, can be pickled vegetable, which is also very tasty. So you can see, even my personal experience are already so different. So you can imagine how diverse the food culture across China only for celebrating the Chinese New Year. Last but not least, it's about the Spring Gala 春晚. It's definitely the best known TV show in China. Produced by the China Central Television (CCTV), started in 1983. So every year, at the Chinese New Year Eve, this show is broadcasted across all over China, featuring different dancing and singing performance, little comedian show, magic show, acrobatics, kung fu, traditional Chinese opera, or a wide range variety of performance with luxury stage design, with a lot of performer and artists featuring in the show. Even though it only started in the early 80s, but I believe it's already become a new tradition of the Chinese New Year, because every New Year Eve, all the families are gathering around the TV to watch this thing together. People were saying that the show is getting more and more boring in the years, but in the end, people still open the TV to watch it every year because it's already an important part of the Chinese New Year Eve. So everyone just open it and then check it on their phone, seeing how people joking about the show on TV. The Spring Gala is definitely one of the most important flagship cultural event of the country. It is definitely comparable to the important cultural event such as Sanremo in Italy or Eurovision singing contest. Its importance is basically at the same level of Olympic opening ceremony, and every year the rehearsal of the show starting several months in advance to prepare this big performance. At a certain moment, people also argue that the Spring Gala is a big propaganda show because it shows the achievement of the country of the last year. For instance, during the year when we launched the Belt and Road Initiative, strengthening the collaboration with the countries on the Silk Road, then the singer from Kazakhstan was invited to perform on the show. On the year where strengthened the collaboration with Africa or countries in South America, then the show will featuring the artists from Kenya or from Brazil. It is also a stage to show China's power and strength in technology. For example, last year there is a dancing performance actually done by robots. There was also a drone show with thousands of drones flying over sky, having different formations with lights and effects. There was also a singing and dancing show was performed inside a factory where the electric vehicles are produced. So basically, by watching the Spring Gala, you will somehow know what the government wants to try to promote and to showcase to the people and to the world. Yes, in this case, I'm saying to show to the world because the Spring Gala is also getting increasingly international, not only about the global strategy of China, but also featuring international stars. For example, in 2013, Celine Dion performed on the stage of Spring Gala. She sang a Chinese song together with another Chinese singer, the folk song called Jasmine Flower, and then she did her famous song My Heart Will Go On the stage. Also one year there is this very famous French actress, Sophie Marceau, sorry for my French, and also last year the rock band from United States, One Republic, also performed on the Spring Gala, singing their famous single, Counting Stars. And there is a news saying that this year, the singer from United States, John Legend, will also come to the Spring Gala to perform to the Chinese people, sending his best wishes. So this is what I want to share with you in this episode. It's not a very planned episode, I have admit, and it's not like a very comprehensive and systematic way to introducing the Chinese culture regarding to the celebration of the Chinese New Year. Just something very personal, my personal experience, memory, and stories about Chinese New Year are something I want to share with you. Also, in this episode, I didn't write down the transcript, so I basically was talking like chatting with a friend to make it sound more relaxing and chill. So I hope you also like this way of recording. So before ending, of course, I need to send some best wishes to my dear listeners. Thank you for your support in the last year, and I hope you will keep supporting me and following me in the coming year of horse. So here, May you achieve success and see your career flourish. I wish you robust health and abundant blessings. May you take the lead in the new year and stay ahead at every step. Wishing you great luck and may everything go your way in the year of the horse. Of course, I have to say it in Chinese because it's a Chinese New Year. So here I wish my listeners 新春快乐，马年吉祥，马到成功，万事如意，龙马精神，阖家欢乐，心想事成，福寿安康，身体健康，一马当先，财源广进。Thank you for listening. I'm 斐然. See you next time in 拙见园 Garden of Humble Views.